Reiner, I haven't talked to you at all about QuakeCon.
Sure.
You were there last week.
Yeah, just got back this weekend.
What was the most exciting thing you saw there?
Prey.
So they showed gameplay from Prey.
I saw, I want to say probably 7 minutes of actual gameplay. They released a trailer that's just like brief snippets of it.
Okay.
But I actually got to see like, you know, environment navigation, combat, using powers in different ways.
So we saw stuff at E3. Was that just CG then?
That was all CG.
okay.
Morgan waking up, going to the mirror, checking his eye.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, you know, it's bloody and you're like, what's going on there? We now have context to that. We know what's going on. And I'll just say this. After I watched those 7 minutes, I immediately thought of BioShock. Not because it's similar in a dystopian setting, you know, the high and mighty, these rich people did experiments, did something terrible to themselves.
Okay.
That is the same, right? That setting's the same. But just seeing weapons and powers be used in unique ways in kind of a story-driven environment like that reminded me of BioShock. And they're doing some really cool stuff in Prey that sets it apart from other games.
I'm excited for it. So this is Arcane Austin.
Yes.
Which is confusing. So they co-developed the first Dishonored and whatnot. Another split.
Harvey went across the big ocean, and Raph stayed here and started working on this with Ricardo Bear.
Ricardo Bear, yeah, he was the lead designer then on Dishonored. So what stands out to you? You say it's doing some cool things.
Yeah, so a couple things. Like, the thing that's happening to Morgan Yu, the main character, who can be either male or female, you don't get to design them, it's just a template, male or female, is that he or she has been experimented on and with alien DNA. So they're doing weird stuff to your body, injecting it into your brain and all this stuff. And something terrible happens. The space station is lost and aliens are running amok. People are dying left and right. You wake up at that kind of ground zero moment and your memory's gone. You don't know what's happened, but you do have these kind of alien powers within you, and you get more as the game goes along. But one you have that we saw right away is Mimic. And it was funny because the demo started and the guy's got a wrench. It's very BioShock, but he's got a wrench.
Okay.
And he goes up these kind of golden stairs and this trash can comes rolling down and he kind of like freaks out. And it almost looks like it's a jump scare moment, but it's not. And he like hits the trash can with the wrench and it kind of moves aside. And I was like, well, that's a weird moment to do in the game.
Uh-huh.
And then Raph says like, he did that because enemies can take shape of anything.
Oh, that's awesome.
So as he's going through the demo again, you then see like there's a trash can in the corner and he's got a gun and he shoots it. And it's again still a trash can, you know, like so it's like he's freaking out over just inanimate objects in the environment. But since he has the power of Mimic, he can do the same thing. So Morgan comes to this locked door and there's no way in, and he's like looking around like, how do I get in here? There's like a little bank teller window or, you know, like ammo provider or whatever. That's the opening is just like, I don't know, 6 inches high by like 8 inches. He's looking at that, looking around, and then there's a coffee mug right on the counter. And he mimics the coffee mug, and it turns into almost like a Pixar moment of like a bouncing coffee mug.
In third person? Really?
Yes, he is the coffee mug, kind of like Dishonored turning into the rats or whatever.
Like Beauty and the Beast characters.
But then he rolls as the coffee mug through the opening, down onto the floor, transforms back into a human. And right there, I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Done. Sold. That sounds awesome.
That's great.
And then
gameplay terms, I mean, would you be able to, is it strictly defined in the environment what you can and
anything
can't
that's not
perform?
bolted down. So I talked to Ricardo afterwards. He said that there's been moments where the player goes into a room and mimics a chair, and a mimic comes in the room and mimics a chair, and they're having to stare down at chairs. But then it becomes like they can't like bash into each other and do that, but it's like whoever transforms first and gets the other then is like, you know, like so, that's the encounter.
How does it not, I mean, I can't imagine that big of a threat where you'd want to do this, but isn't the temptation then just to go through the game and just bang with a wrench on every object you see? Like, how do you stop players
I'm
from
wondering
doing
if
that?
you'll see something like just kind of rattle a little or something that will start freaking you out.
Oh, that's so good.
And they said it's all random. They said like they, you know, spawn, they tell the enemies when to spawn, these mimics when to spawn. But then it's up to them, whatever they want to do and as their AI. So anything in the environment, they could take over if they want, or they could just run in their physical form. So they just, you know, every time they play test it, they say they see something different and crazy.
Is this just one class of alien, or are all the aliens mimics then?
No, that's just one type. There's like these little spider ones, and all the aliens are really cool looking. They almost look like distortions or like kind of smoky figures with like glowing white eyes. Like you can't really make them out. You can tell it's like a bipedal organism or like a spider-like thing, but it's always shifting.
Love it.
Almost like their smoke or kind of like dissolving venom, from Spider-Man. But another thing we saw is he got this gun called the glue cannon, GLOO, and there's like 5 spiders coming at him, and it looks like, again, like something from BioShock that's like steampunky cobbled together. And he shoots it and shoots out this foam, and it instantly freezes all of them. And then he switches to the alt, which is like a napalm launcher or flamethrower, and this foam is apparently incendiary, and just they go up in a blaze.
And so it's just the thing, like torching little thinglings?
Yeah, and it was just like this whoosh, this huge flame, and I was like, that's awesome. But then he's like, you can also use the guns in different ways, and he sprays foam up a wall, up to a balcony, and then he goes up, climbs up on the glue, the foam stuff, and uses that for traversal, so it has kind of like that Metroid-esque, like finding different areas using your powers. I was just like, oh my god, this looks so cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know any of this.
Because they didn't show it in the trailer.
Oh, really? I didn't
they
even watch
premiered.
that.
It was
Okay.
like the trailer seemed very simple compared to that.
Yeah, you have not seen the gameplay. The gameplay is sweet.
Which is funny because they build it as a gameplay reveal, and it was just like, here's the guy walking through a space station, and here's him shooting things with guns, which is like fine, but it's not turning into a coffee cup. It's not shooting foam. Like they should have shown that in the trailer, because that would have I think gotten people a lot more.
But I
excited.
wonder if people just say then, oh, this is the coffee cup game. Like it's such a weird
Right.
thing to get out of the gate with actual gameplay.
That's
can
true.
you mimic people? Can you mimic the spiders? Can you mimic the aliens?
That's a good question. I don't know. But other things, there's so many cool instances of just like weapons being, I could talk your ear off of the weapons they showed us, like grenades and kind of, I don't know, these kind of shockwave beams that you can send out to pause time, how that can be comboed together. And you loot bodies and you're getting minerals and resources that you use in these machines to build stuff. So we see him build a zero-G propulsion system with stuff he cobbled together, and he goes over to this machine and it makes it for him like a 3D printer kind of. And he uses that to go out and spacewalk. And it turns out that the entire complex, the entire space station you're on, Talos 1, is open. And he's like, I don't want to call it open world, but you can kind of go where you want to. And I was like, so you can just go out and spacewalk and find different doors? He's like, yeah, if you want to. There will be progression blocks where you need certain powers or whatever, but you can just kind of go out and roam and explore the space station. And he's like, it's loaded with, there's only one mission in the game, but there's tons of side quests. But there's one big thing you're trying to do, and you get that mission right from the outset.
Mimic a cup.
Exactly. But he's like, you can get lost in these side stories and doing missions for other people and stuff like that, or these little quests. But there's just one goal, and I'm not sure what it is. If it's kind of like Judge Dredd, get to the top floor or whatever. But
Okay.
I don't know. It sounds very cool, very unique, and the gameplay we saw was very impressive. The combat looked great, and the powers, again, like both of them being used in different ways, was super cool and gave me that feeling of, I have not seen gameplay like this before, and I want to experiment with it.
As fun and experimental as like when we first saw Dishonored, it was like, oh, combining these powers is gonna be really cool.
Or
But
just like seeing Dishonored. Yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah.
And it's Arcane, so it's like
Sure.
their thing. But the dystopian setting and all that is very, a lot of people are going to draw comparisons to BioShock, I think.
And I know
But that's a good thing.
Yeah, Sean Elliott, who was a designer in BioShock Infinite, is over there now. I'm sure there's a lot of crossover in that team and whatnot after Irrational's implosion.